All right. Hopefully this thing is recording. I'd like to welcome everyone to the presentation. This is going to be the Folding at Home, Fold the North Team GOC Stratosphere presentation. And you know what? It's going to be a little bit of a presentation, a little bit of a story, and a little bit of a lessons learned on how we were using the cloud. So to begin this, we're going to sharpen the old pencil here. And we're going to clean the bench, and we're going to start this slide deck here. So we're going for a different kind of approach. We're going to go a little analog, but basically, here's the Fold the North origin story. And for those who would like to see this recording or would like to learn more about our group, foldthenorth.ca is our website. So, an introduction. COVID-19 is gone from an epidemic to a global pandemic. Canada has gone through its first wave of the virus, and the lockdown orders are lifting regionally in Canada. There have been regional flare-ups of the virus, indicating that the virus is embedded in our communities. It's still with us. The virus continues to rage on elsewhere in the world. Experts are cautiously optimistic that a vaccine will be available sometime next year. And if you haven't seen it before, this guy right here, that's COVID-19. This is the bad guy. Here's a little bit of a zoomed in view of the COVID-19 virus. You might have heard of the spike protein or the COVID-19 spike. That's this section right here. But you know what? That's really too detailed for the beginning of a presentation. So we'll just keep moving on. So the world is rushing to find a cure for COVID-19. We're all still in lockdown. Scientists, researchers, virologists, immunologists, epidemiologists, universities, laboratories, cats, dogs, everyone's looking for a cure for COVID-19. What we are trying to do is take citizen scientists and have them donate CPU resources to distributed computing projects, including Folding at Home, to help fight COVID-19. So we'll talk a little bit about how that works. So, Folding at Home is a distributed computing project aimed to help scientists develop new therapeutics to a variety of diseases by means of simulating protein dynamics. This includes the process of protein folding, the movements of proteins, and is reliant on simulations run on volunteers' personal computers. To date, the diseases targeted by Folding at Home have been COVID-19, which was added probably 3 months ago, Alzheimer's, various cancers, Huntington's, Parkinson's, and other priorities like sprints that they often do. Folding at Home is associated with quite a few universities and laboratories across the world. So, what is distributed computing? Distributed computing are groups of networked computers which share a common goal for their work. At its lowest level of design, remote CPUs and GPUs process computational work packages that have been segmented up, so they've been cut up, and distributed via a messaging network, the internet. Once the processing has been completed, these work packages are collected and reassembled into completed forms. Often, for very large data projects they're often used for very large data projects or projects that require great amount of processing. So popular examples of distributed computing are SETI, which was the search for extraterrestrial life, which had run for over 20 years and had just retired. We have BOINC, which is related to human genome, similar projects related to COVID-19, and other mathematical projects that are hosted by universities. And then Folding at Home, which is the one we're going to focus on for this presentation. So, distributed computing and COVID. In an effort to help find a vaccine, researchers have asked distributed computing platforms to focus on COVID-19 projects, the largest being the COVID-19 computing network. At the beginning of the pandemic, Folding at Home had just over 15,000 members, and it had been idling that way for almost 17 or 18 years. But as soon as the pandemic hit, there was a huge surge of members. Like everyone was trying to figure out a way to help fight COVID-19. So now into the pandemic, the membership has surged to over 1.2 million members, all contributing CPU and GPU resources in their personal computers to run these simulations for the researchers. Now the graph on the left, it's hard to see in the camera, but you can see a continual growth of users, as well as the increased growth of COVID cases. And then for further detail, it shows some of the events that happened during the year that correspond to some of the COVID spreader events. So all that to say, there's quite a few users contributing to the platform. Through collaboration, Folding at Home has since become the world's fastest supercomputer, faster than the top 500 computers. So there are a lot of vendors and companies that specialize in supercomputers. Stuff like IBM Summit, Sierra, Sunway, Frontera. All these vendors, they specialize in large computers. And you can see them represented on the bar graph over here. But this giant bar is the processing power of the Folding at Home distributed computing network. Like you can see, like it's many times larger than all of these guys combined. And they even they were the first supercomputer to beat the exascale barrier. You know, like I don't quite understand the whole processing power scaling, but just that brag alone is amazing. You know, like IBM Summit, they poured millions of dollars into their research, and it was the community that kicked their butt to the exascale. I think that's awesome. Just fantastic. So, back to the process. Protein folding is a process. Protein is made of amino acids that in many cases spontaneously fold into compact functional structures. The way proteins are arranged and move determines their functions. Viruses contain proteins that are used to suppress our immune system and, more nefariously, to reproduce. Simulating how the protein components move and fold through computers captures information that can be used to identify new therapeutics. So what they're trying to say here is, like, I like to do the analogy of origami. You do a series of folds and you'll get a crane. You do a different series of folds, you'll get a frog. And what they hope to do is figure out a way to stop that protein from folding to disable the virus. So break up one of the folds and you get a frog with 3 legs. So folding at home is an easy way to help. Protein folding, along with many other scientific initiatives, requires significantly more computational power than what current computers can provide. Folding at home has been used to address this gap in computing power for over 20 years. Like I was saying, they've just had their 20th anniversary. Distributing computing allows the scientific community to conduct more simulations at a faster rate, and with the hope of finding the right results needed for a breakthrough. Folding at home requires little technical knowledge, just some spare computer power, and a willingness to help. So if you have a CPU at home that's not really doing too much during the night, or if you have a graphics card or a GPU that's not really doing anything until you're playing computer games, you can use those and donate them to Folding at Home to fight COVID. So how does it work? So a little bit of a technical architecture here. Folding at Home uses a client-server architecture. A volunteer installs a client. It's a really small client on the desktop. The client asks the assignment server to assign it to a work server. The client talks to the work server, requests a work unit. The client, depending on the work unit, may download the computational core required to work from a web server. The computational core, it's like scaffolding that helps the CPU run the simulation that the researchers are after. Upon completion, clients send the results either to the same work server or the collection server. So it just takes the data that it sent you and it sends it back. Log files and credits are collected from the work servers and passed to statistics servers for tabulation and display. This is how we know how an individual contributor or a team is ranked against other teams and against everyone else who is in the Folding at Home network. So they try to make a little bit of a game out of it. So, who's folding? Well, there are over 250,000 teams spanning the globe registered with Folding at Home. 2.7 million are lending a helping hand or a computer. Folding at Home is supported by major companies including Intel, Microsoft, Cisco, Avast, NVIDIA, AMD. There are tons of companies on board supplying hardware and resources to contribute. But there are also public servants. There are over 90 public servants contributing to the Team GOC Folding at Home team. Now, this is public servants using their own resources, using their own time, wanting to find a cure for COVID-19, and at the same time representing the government of Canada in their own personal kind of way. So, to give detail on that, we have a team. So the team goes by a couple different names. One is Fold the North. The other one is Team GOC. And our team ID is 247377. You will need that ID if you'd like to join our team. We have a website that has a lot of this information on how to install the client, our frequently asked questions, and other details. And it also keeps track of our team stats. We have a Twitter account at @FoldTheNorth. And to date, our team started in March, and we are now ranked 462nd out of 254,942 teams. Our stats as of May, so originally when the slide deck was created, we were at 653. So in a couple of months, we've already dropped down quite a bit, which is good. So how do I help? Well, if you're interested in contributing some of your own resources to contribute to the team, it's super easy. There's a guide on the website, but it basically goes like this. Install the Folding at Home client on your desktop. Join our folding team. That's where that team ID comes in. Leave your computer on when you're not using it. So, the winter's coming. Let's heat our homes with our computers and let the Folding at Home client run. We've created instructional guides and videos to make this process as painless as possible. We have people running it on new desktops. We have it running on old desktops. We have it running on Raspberry Pis, and we have it running in on server hardware as well. It's basically, if it can run Windows, I believe it's Windows 10. No, it's Windows 7 and a server edition of Windows 7 and higher, it's able to contribute to Folding at Home. So, a little bit about the team. So you can see our team has been doing very well. We have good growth. But the other thing I wanted to point out is there are team ranking sites that kind of show how the team has grown. So we can see that our team at this time was ranked at 584. And then in the last 24 hours, we jumped up 9 spots. So as long as we have people contributing, we are earning points by completing the work units that I mentioned earlier. And it turns into a little bit of a fun rivalry because there are other country teams, there are other vendors like Shopify. Shopify was one team that we beat probably a month and a half ago. Microsoft, a couple of countries we've surpassed. It just makes it into a little fun game out of it. So, how else can you help? So if you're not able to contribute your CPU resources, or your computer's too old, or you don't want to pay for the power bill, there's tons of other ways to contribute. Our group, it's a group of public servants doing this on our own time, so we don't have the resources of a corporation or of a government department. So beyond contributing your unused or underused computing power, you can do a bunch of stuff. So you can help us amplify our social media efforts. So if you can give us a signal boost or follow us on Twitter, that would be fantastic. Help us find more folders. So if you might not be able to contribute, but you know someone who is part of a computer club or who has a lot of computers, maybe they would be interested in contributing, send them to our website or contact us via Twitter, and we can give them the information they need to join the team. It doesn't have to be just the public servants that join Team GOC. It's more just getting people to contribute to Folding at Home to help fight COVID. Other stuff that you can do, use your network to help increase our contributions. So we've been doing lunch and learns just within our own departments, working because our team is so large. We have 90 members. We've been working within our own departments to push that information. So if you would like Team Fold the North to come to your department or to your group to do a show and tell or a lunch and learn, let us know. We'd be happy to do that. One of the other things, volunteers, that you can help us do team administration and marketing. So stuff like organizing people, figuring out tasks, like the real administrative work. So even helping us with translation or improving our accessibility. Like we want people to join the group, and we want to make the group as friendly as possible. So we need help doing that. And then the one last thing that we've been jokingly adding to our presentation is sponsor our sticker procurement goal. I think it would be fantastic if we had like a badge of honor, some sticker swag that we could give to people who are folders to say, hey, we were Fold the North and we contributed, and you know what, we made a real difference. So we're almost at the end of the presentation. The win. So the best time to plant a tree, that was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So, you know, we've been in this COVID world for about 8 months. And we've all been dealing with it in different ways. And you shouldn't feel like you've missed your opportunity to contribute because you weren't in the cohort or you weren't in the group when this first happened. The group is constantly growing, and we always welcome new people to join. And even if you don't want to join the group, just join the cause, because all of that resource, it goes to the same pool. So we're at the Ask Us Anything section, but because we're doing this for Stratosphere, let's talk about cloud. So the group, this is where the story part kicks in. So I'll tell you my story. I think it was February or March, I got the orders to stand down, and basically asked not to come into work anymore because COVID was an outbreak in Ottawa. And I kind of scrambled. I was trying to figure out where I was supposed to go, what I was supposed to do, and you try to find the support groups that you had at work online. And at the time, I was idling on GC Message and some of the Slack workspaces that were scattered across the Government of Canada's access. And in GC Message, a conversation came up about what people were doing or working on during COVID. And through that conversation, someone had suggested, hey, you know, Fold the North or Folding at Home, they're still running, and they've started working on COVID-19 projects. Maybe we should start a folding team for Folding at Home to do something, to take these resources and to push them forward. And that idea snowballed, and it started to collect people off of GC Message. And it started to grow. You get like 30 people the first recruiting wave, and then so that took off. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, we're all still online, and more people are coming onto these instant messaging platforms. So like Slack Spaces really took off. So we had members who were positioned in various Slack spaces within, just public servants working within Slack. And the message started to spread there. So you would have someone go to the GC DevOps Slack space and ask if, hey, you guys are fairly technical. Do you guys want to join our folding team? And then we would collect a couple people from there. and then we would connect to the Digital Academies Slack space and talk to some people there, talk about our mission, what we're trying to do, and we would bring some of those people from there. And that was kind of how the group grew. And it grew to the point where we had people from, so like I'm doing this work not representing my department, but we've grown people, we've taken people from other departments. So if I think about just off the top of my head, we have Treasury Board, we have CDS, we have SSC, we have ESDC, we have D&D, and we have Transport Canada, so TC. And like it's been fantastic. We just keep growing, and people really believe in the message of what we're trying to do, and we've used these platforms to spread that message. So it's been really helpful for us to be able to connect to the users to get our message out. So that was like that was the one lesson learned, is being able to go into these other groups to spread the message and make it very simple for people to connect. The other thing is, because we're doing this ourselves, we needed a central repository for us to store our information. So what we ended up doing is, power of a credit card. We just find a Canadian web host. Didn't have to be Canadian, but we decided to go with a Canadian one. And we purchased a WordPress site, and it takes 5 minutes maybe to, it takes 10 minutes to buy a domain. It takes 5 minutes to set up the WordPress site. And then we all just started to work on it, trying to make it bilingual, trying to make it accessible as possible, which is a little bit of a challenge for WordPress. But it's all doable. So, and then we created this website that holds all our documents, and then even some of our content, like we have tutorials that are stored on YouTube. We have documents that are uploaded to Google, sorry, not Google, it's the Microsoft one, to OneDrive. So these cloud platforms allowed us to rapidly deploy like a user base homepage, or just a repository of information. So that was the other lesson learned, is it was easy for us to set up a website. And then the third thing I wanted to add to it was not necessarily a lesson learned, but like a lot of this presentation talks about the desktop perspective. Because there are so many companies that are equally interested in contributing to folding at home, companies like Amazon, Azure, VMware, and the Docker community have all created instances and images and VM appliances that can be rapidly deployed to the cloud or to your infrastructure to contribute to the team to Fold the North, as well as to the group, the Folding at Home initiative. So that was the other aspect of cloud that we wanted to mention. So that basically leaves us to the Ask Us Anything portion of the presentation. So I think the plan for Stratosphere, that there was going to be comments or questions that could be asked in the comment section, which I think might be down here, or depending if you're on the phone, it's going to be over here. Someone from the group will be in the chat section to answer your questions. We have a frequently asked, like an FAQ on our website. So if you go to foldthenorth.ca, you will see our frequently asked questions. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. So with that, I would like to thank the audience for sitting through my presentation and a little bit of my story here. And I look forward to any of your questions. Thank you very much.